We're here with Stage Zero's own
What's up?
Sandy Cater.
Hey.
What did you do this weekend?
This weekend I made 25th out of 412 at the Friday Vegas regionals, and then yesterday I got second in Swiss with 250 people, and then I lost in Top Cut to the man that's filming the fucking video, bro.
Yeah.
Nah, not cool. But I was playing Piccolo hand control. So we've obviously got the leader. Everyone knows what it does. You scry the top card, you put it at the top or the bottom, and then you draw it. You draw the next card or the card you put on top. Then you draw for turn. When you awaken, you put a blue and a green under the leader. You draw 3 and you untap 1. Then it's got activate main once per turn. You can either choose to warp 2 cards from your opponent's hand, or you can ramp a card. Since I'm playing hand control, the effect of warping 2 cards from hand is the effect you're most likely going to be using. It just solely depends on what's going on in the matchup, the game state, if you have a win condition or not that needs that extra energy. But you're most likely going to be warping 2. It's a hand control deck, so that's how we're going to be playing it. Yeah.
Let's just cut to the chase right here.
Let's cut to the chase. So this, and this is the deck. These 4, 7, 11, 15 cards are the deck. We're playing hand control, so we're mainly playing green. So Kamehameha is the best card for that. It is a plus 15k on either a leader card or a battle card. And then you get to decide 1 card from your opponent's hand, and you get to discard it. So this card is very good because you're doing hand control, but it also introduces an RNG factor into the game where you can either rip their secret rares, you can rip the cards that they are using to survive, so on and so forth. We'll sort of explain some synergy later on when I get to some more cards in the deck and some matchups. But yeah, this is a 4 of. It is the deck. It is one of the best cards in the deck. So yeah, 4 of. I run 3 special beam cannon. I was looking, this is like another card. It rips a card, it gives you leader plus 10k, so it's very good, but it's definitely weaker than Kamehameha. I was trying to find some space for another card in the deck, so this was an easy card to cut down to 3. I found when I was running it at 4, I was charging it more often than not, so it was easy to cut down to 3. It's useful when you're trying to go for game. Plus 10k on your leader for defense, and it's just a card rip. So, very strong card to run. 3 is probably the right number. Yeah. 4 Android 18 super combos. Your opponent takes a card from the hand and they bottom deck it. It's a free 10k. It's a blue-green combo for Arrival for Goku Gohan, which we'll get into a bit later. This card, when sequenced correctly, is very strong because you will super combo, and then your opponent will almost more than not put a card that they do not want in their hand at the bottom of the deck, and then we have a higher chance of hitting the card that we want to hit with either Special Beam Cannon or Kamehameha. Next card is the workhorse of the deck. This is the best card in the deck for every reason. Like this deck is actually much more aggressive than you would imagine, and it's because of this card. So it is a 1-drop. When you swing, you take a life. It gains plus 10,000 power and critical. So it's a self-awakener, and it creates disparity because you're swinging crit. So they're either losing a card from their life, or they're comboing a card out. So they're losing hand or they're losing life. And the longer this card stays on the board, the more and more disparity you're gonna make. So you swing with this, take a life. You won't combo in because your opponent either has to lose a card from hand, or they will take the life, and then you'll use a Kamehameha or a super combo to protect it. We'll talk later on about changes that I will make to the deck that will help protect this more and help make the deck even more aggressive. But yeah, this is a 4 of. It's the best card in the deck. I absolutely love it. In certain matchups like U7 and the Mirror, you're just hard mulliganing for this card. This card will win you a lot of matchups. I run 4 Son Goku and Son Gohan Saiyans of Earth. It was like the best Arrival blue-green card. It's board removal, it's board presence, and it's hand discard. So you'll combo your 18, they'll bottom deck a card, You'll rival Goku Gohan. They'll discard a card, and then, if necessary, you can charge a card that costs 5 or less on the battlefield. You're most likely not going to want to do that because if you charge a card, then they don't have to charge an energy for the next turn, which sort of beats it beats the hand destruction, which you're wanting to do. Like, they're getting more and more energy, so they don't have to charge it. They don't have to charge a card. But if you don't have an answer to like the new 1-drop Frieza SR, maybe a couple other cards, or in the mirror, or any deck that runs IARs, you charge an off color with this.
Yep.
So in the mirror, you're going to charge Janemba. If they're running Vegeta Final Flash and they're running red-yellow, you're going to charge a red card, so on. Like, this just shuts off the IARs, so it's very useful. That's what the charge is for. Yeah, and it's board presence. So if you don't want to charge the card, the card's in rest mode, you can swing into it. If they protect it, they lose another card from hand, so on. And then it is also an evolved target for one of the boss monsters in the deck, which is Ultra...
Y'all slept on this one.
Y'all slept on this one, that's correct, bro. Ultra Instinct Sign Son Goku. Since I'm playing a hand control deck, as I get your hand lower and lower and get your life closer and closer to 3, if you have a negate in hand, you have a negate in the hand. Sure, that is what it is. But if you don't, and you're 3 life, that's game.
Yep.
That's game. Is board removal against the successor decks?
You wiped my whole board with that card.
I wiped your whole board. I still lost that game though. I still lost it. But yeah. So this card it's kind of insane. It works the way I want it to. Against anything that isn't yellow, it's very good. If you can manage to rip the Frost Deadly Poisons or the Crusher Balls,
Yeah.
Brandon, so on, then this is a safe card to play. If your opponent has Royal Condemnation, you can attempt to evolve, you can force the Royal Condemnation, which is very important, and then the Goku Gohan remains on board so that you can swing and continue to be aggressive. The secret rare in the deck is Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. I think it is the best secret rare in the deck as long as your opponent is not playing Zamasu super combos.
The best super combo out of all the ones you've got. And that's fact.
As long as your opponent isn't playing Zamasu super combos, when you play this card, this is most likely game. If it's not, you're going to put them so far back that they just can't handle it. And you're most likely going to win. If you can play this and it remains unanswered, you're just going to win. It's just how the card works. Black Smoke is good. It can help blow out the mirror. It can help with some other matchups like Surge Q maybe, where you can try and mill them out and gain hand advantage or warp the board, get rid of their hand. But I'm gonna stick with this one. This secret rare is putting work for me, and I really like it. Unless my opponent's running some monster super combos.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for that one.
Since I'm playing a control deck, I do run some counterplays. I ran 3 Hidden Potentials and 4 Vegeta the Cruels for the event. The reason being is because the deck is relatively bricky. It is a lot of 10Ks. So I wanted a 0-cost 5K and a mono green charge. But this card was rarely ever used. So going forward, I'm going to move 1 Vegeta the Cruel over to the full play set of Hidden Potential, which will also free up a slot in my sideboard. Hidden Potential just put in so much work for me. It's essentially a 1-mana counterplay. You can use it on your turn, you can use it on your opponent's turn, which is very important, whereas Vegeta the Cruel you can only use it on your opponent's turn. In quite a few matchups, especially like the blue-green mirror and stuff, this just gets sided out. At least 2 of them. So we make the change from 3 to 4 going forward. But yeah, the counterplays are very important in this deck. If they're trying to play a card, you're going 1 for 1. They're most likely losing more energy than you. So, yeah. Tech choices. 2 Janemba Infernal Intruder. If you don't have a board, once you have 3 energy, it's a 1-mana, 5-drop, 20k critical.
Yep.
It's okay. It's definitely not one of the best cards in the deck, but it does what it needs to do.
It dodges a lot of counterplays.
It dodges quite a few counterplays. It's 1 mana, so if your opponent wants to counterplay into it, you could probably hidden potential the counterplay they're trying to remove this with. And the mirror match is really, really bad because you're losing a card from hand, and even though you're swinging crit and creating some level of disparity, it's just not enough. And then if they're running Goku Gohans, they're just going to charge it, and then your Cells Kamehamehas are offline. So this gets sided out in the mirror match. But against UI, when they remove the board, just when you don't have a board, it's there as a critical. So it's good enough as a 2 of, no more, probably no less. I run as my Overwhelm in the deck because I am a very fond believer of Overwhelm. I run 2 Dark Temptation Toho. Whenever I'm building a deck, I always try and fit 2 Overwhelms into the deck. This was my choice because it's free. It's an Overwhelm 3. It makes my opponent discard a card and gives my leader plus 5k. So my opponent has lost a card from hand, and then I can deal with board control. And since it's free, if I'm trying to go for game, this is a huge card when going from game. If my opponent wants to attempt to counterplay it, I can hidden potential their counterplay, which is very important. I've gone 2 for 2. I have a body on board, and I've given my leader plus 5. So yeah, very good card. I wouldn't change this out for anything in the main board. It's very strong, and yeah, did a lot of work this weekend. I play 1 Hidden Power, East Supreme Kai. I wanted a double strike in the deck. Like, I don't know what to say. I didn't have space for a second one, but whenever I did see this card, I really appreciated seeing this card. You know what I mean? Like, if I give Go On critical when I'm hitting them from 4 to 2 in the mirror match, or something like that, 5 to 3. When I'm going for game on my leader, they have 2 life, put it on there. Like, whenever I comboed this card, my opponent was most likely losing. So it put in a lot of work for me. And then finally, as the tech choices, I ran 2 Master Roshi Kamehameha Origins.
Yeah, this one was hot.
This card, if you don't have it, you need to pick this card up, especially if you're running green.
Tell them what it does.
So it's an activate main. You tap 1 green. You send, if your leader card is green, you send this card from your drop area to your warp, and you add a green extra card back to hand.
Green extra card.
Yes.
Come on, that.
That one, that one,
Oh.
and then in the sideboard, it gets even better. It gets even better in the sideboard. So, in the long control matchups, or like matchups when in almost every single matchup, this card comes in use. It's even when being aggressive, because you'll combo this off aggressively, you'll combo this aggressively, and then you'll grab this back so you can combo it aggressively again. If you're against a successor deck and you need to make sure that they don't get successor 12 or successor 9 or something like that, you can combo this off aggressively on the Goku Gohans. You can grab this back if you need it. Very, very strong card. Thank you to Nathan Hills, one of my local boys, one of the best players in the UK. He introduced this card to me, and as I've introduced the other blue-green players here at the tournament, we have definitely decided that this is a main board staple and you should be playing it. Next up is the energy cards. So I run 2 Android 21 Bad Omens, which was a card I was not originally running to begin with, which was a mistake. This card is insane.
Oh yeah.
You get crit of life, it's board removal. As long as you're not playing into Frost, Deadly Poison or Royal Condemnation, like, this card just doesn't work. I don't know what else to say about it. I'm very pleased that I ran it as 2, and I was very fortunate that even though it is a 2 of, in a lot of my games, I managed to see it in my opening hand. So it's just a turn 1 charge, and it's very simple from there on.
They can't rip it out your hand.
Nah.
So
they can't
can't
rip it out your hand. And then, like, against U7, since I'm trying to be very aggressive against U7, if they're tapped out and I have this card in my energy, I'm just going to play it. Like, I don't want this to get Royal Condemnation, and I need to get one of these off. So if you're playing against U7 and they're tapped out, don't even think about it. Just play this card. Rip a card from their life. If you can, remove the cardboard, swing, try and kill them. Simple as that. And then I run 4 check lands. I was mainly using these as check lands, but I was clearly doing that wrong because it put in work against me. I felt so bad when I had 1 card in hand and this was played against me, and they swung and it happened to be a combo card. Like,
I mean, if you think about it, it causes a hand disparity between you and your opponent.
it does.
Like yeah, you're supposed to put in your energy. But
So this isn't to me as good as the Broly check land, but it does what it needs to do. You swing. If your opponent wants to combo out, and let's say you're going for game with this, you just get rid of the card they're trying to combo out, which is what happened to me in Game 3 in Top 64. So, yeah, very good card. I rate it. We're gonna get on to like the extra defensive cards. This is the worst card in the deck. Do not play this card. I'm telling you now. Outside of everything besides this card, this main board is perfect. At no point did I want to see Dimension Magic, which is a really strange thing for a lot of people to hear, because Dimension Magic is a 1 mana untap 1. It's a negate. But this deck is so energy efficient. I think the only cards that cost more than 2 is Bad Omen and the Secret Rare.
Yep.
So you don't need the untap. Like, you got Sensu Beans for the untap. Luckily, Eon Hill, like, I played against him in round 7 of the regionals, and he showed me the way. Dimension Magic is not a good card. It's only good against the Gohan matchup, and even then, there wasn't many Gohan, and Gohan is not a difficult matchup for this deck. So, worst card. We'll explain what we're gonna change it out for. And then 4 Sensu Beans. You run in blue-green. It allows you to be aggressive. Sometimes, if I needed the space, I would side it out, go to 3, because, like I said, this deck is so energy efficient that it's not a huge deal. But this is fine as a 4 for consistency. It allows you to be very, 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 very aggressive if you need to. If you have multiple if you draw properly, if you have like Newfound Power Son Gohans, you have Sensu Beans, you've got Goku Gohans. With your Secret Rare, if you're trying to go for game, something like that. So the untap offensively is very useful. Defensively, not so much, but it is a +5k on your leader for defense if necessary. So we'll move on to the sideboard. I ran 3 Sacrifices, which is the card that is going to replace Dimension Magic.
I agree. I think it makes it better against Gohan too.
I think Dimension Magic was just such an unnecessary card. Sure. So with Sacrifice, it allows, funnily enough, as a negate, it allows the deck to be far, far, far more aggressive.
The card is always live.
It's always live. So if you're on the play against pretty much every deck, you want to go turn 1 multicolor charge, turn 2 Gohan, swing, take a life, don't combo. And then when your opponent swings into the Gohan, normally what I would do with since I have Dimension Magic, I'll leave that 1 energy open to protect it with Kamehameha. With this, you spark the negate, you get an extra card in hand, and your opponent hasn't killed the Gohan. So you're creating more and more of a hand disparity, and you're getting yourself closer and closer to Awakening, getting yourself closer and closer to 3. And if you're being very, very fast, your opponent isn't going to be able to develop a hand. So you can, like, swing crit, super combo, Cells Kamehameha, rip them down to 2 cards in hand, and then Awaken and rip the last 2 cards, and then your opponent is on such,
they're about to take that crit too.
They're on like such a bad back foot. So going forward, the main deck is going to run 4 Sacrifice and then 3 Dimension Magics in the sideboard. The only reason you run Dimension Magic in the sideboard is for the Gohan matchup. The more negates you have, the better. Like, Gohan is very easy. All you have to do is bait them into trying to go for game when they take their life from 5 to 3. They'll awake. You don't negate. They'll awaken. They'll crit the life, and then they'll most likely try and go for game that turn. And then if you've got 1 negate in hand, you're safe. So we just want to add the consistency into that. And then even if they don't go for game that turn, they're at 2. So you can, if you have Sensu Beans and Gohans and Goku Gohans or Ultra Instincts or your Double Strike Kai, wherever that is here, you just win.
Yep.
So the Reboot Gohan is a relatively free matchup for this deck, especially when you side into more negates. The Super Tech.
Oh yeah.
Predation. Predation. This is one of the most insane cards you can run on the sideboard. Once again, thank you to Nathan Hills for putting me on it. This is a draw 2, pop one of your opponent's 1-drops.
Pop their Gohan in the mirror, you said.
You pop the Gohan in the mirror, and then you draw 2. So, where is he? So in the mirror match, this is most likely coming in the mirror match or decks that is going to play the long game and you're on the draw and you can't be as aggressive because they have counterplays. You use Predation to draw 2 and pop their 1-drops, and then you use Roshi to grab back the Predation and draw 2. In the mirror match, especially the blue-green, if they're not being that aggressive, it's very simple for me to accrue a hand of like 14 cards because I'll Predation, draw 2, loop Roshi, grab back Predation, draw 2 more. The combo is insane, and it won me a lot of the blue. It genuinely won me a lot of the blue-green mirrors. Like, you can safely surge. So if you surge before your opponent in the mirror, depending on the game state, you're most likely going to lose it. You KO one of the 1-drops, so in the mirror you KO the newfound power, you draw 2 cards, and then you loop Predation with Roshi, so it allows you to maintain a massive hand in the mirror, or in like Tricolor Piccolo or something. So to be honest, if you're on the draw, you have to stall out that game. I don't know what else to say. Like Tricolor Piccolo, without sacrificing the main board, you just have to stall it. You have to stall that game. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. It's a very, very difficult matchup. Predation lets you keep your hand size up. If Predation, a lot of people were citing Gogeta 7. Predation, when you get in the drop and you have Roshi in the drop, if they Gogeta 7 you and just pass, you can go Roshi to the warp, add back Predation, draw 2 cards, and get your hand back so you continue from there. Very good cards in the sideboard. Definitely a sideboard staple. I've got 2 Slumber Strike. Removal for Successor. Yep. Boom!
Pop that shit.
Pop that shit. To be honest, all of the Successor decks I played against, because I played this card and because I played Roshi, unless they wanted to arrival 2 SS Brolys on their turn to kill me with the Secret Rare, they were not getting that Secret Rare down. I had no one play the Secret Rare Zeno against me. Either I ripped it, or they just didn't have the board presence to pull it out. So Slumber Strike is another sideboard card that is 100% necessary. If you're not playing it in blue-green, then you need to pick it up. Simple as that. Synergy with Roshi is very strong.
That's the next card on the side, too. You got another Roshi over there.
Yep. So I ran 2 Roshi's main. I ran another Roshi sideboard, once again for the mirror match. For games that go long and that I'm trying to be aggressive with my hand, but I know they're a control deck, so it's going to take a long time to do it. This just allows me to accrue advantage from my drop area. And if they happen to rip it, then like with Cells Kamehameha, Special Beam Cannon, or whatever, then that's just a plus for me. So 1 more Roshi in the side, very strong card. Then we got 2 Mafubas in the sideboard. This is for the Bibbidi matchup to deal with the 6-drop. It's relatively useful against U7. U7 should be free if you're playing it properly. You should not lose to U7. But when I was playing against Daehan, he was shuffling his deck while I was still sideboarding, and the 6-drop deflect fell out. I was like, well, this is going in my side.
Oh, yeah.
This is going in the deck. So it has use against that. It doesn't come in much, but I think it's a safe choice.
Yeah.
It fills the slot. It essentially fills the slot of Ultra Instinct, the Unstoppable, the 4-drop counterplay.
Yeah, that card's kind of fell out of favor.
That card's definitely fell out of favor. If you're playing it in blue-green and you play it in the mirror, you're most likely going to lose because it's going to get hidden potentially. If you just tap 4 for your opponent to tap 1, you're probably dead. So Mafuba fills the slot much, much, much better, I feel. So sell your Ultra Instincts now, pick up 2 Mafubas.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
I think that's sound advice.
I ran 1 more hidden potential on the side. Like I said, that's going to go main board. It is useful against a lot of matchups, especially the ones where you want to counterplay. Like Surge Broly's free when you bring this in. Surge Bully is free to begin with, but you just bring this in to shore up the matchup. This is just to shore up matchups, to add consistency to the matchups where I do need to see it. But like I said, it will go in as a 4-of in the main deck. Then finally, the black cards in the sideboard. I ran 2 Dark Power Black Massaian. I'm a hand control deck. So if my opponent is playing cards with activate mains, autos, or anything like that, I could side this in. There are quite a few answers to this card I found, and I was running it at 3 for the Vegas regionals. But 3 felt like too much. If I wanted to side it in, I was going to side in all 3, but finding the space for the 3rd was very difficult.
And having that black energy is hard too.
Yeah.
You need to surge your leader.
Yeah, for sure. But Piccolo draws so much that it's okay if you have a few more black cards. But yeah, this card mainly came in against Surge Broly because they all seem to be running the Nappa. This ruins that Nappa. Like, the Nappa's bad. It's useful against Jiren. It's useful against Cell. I didn't really play any Cells, but this would come in against Cell, and it would come in against Broly. That's about it. Because Jiren has answers. They'll do the ape. They'll do the big ape. They'll rest it. They'll rest it, and then they'll swing into it. So don't bring this in against Jiren, because if they're playing the proper build, this is just a suboptimal card that you brought in. And Jiren is a good matchup anyway. We'll talk about matchups in just a second. Then finally, Tufu Shrouded. As I've realized, like, how the deck works more and more, you want to be aggressive. This is not an aggressive card. It's okay to side in on the play over Toa, but it solely depends on the matchup. It's good against Piccolo. It's good against U7. But this will probably come in against U7. I'm unsure if it'll stay as a 2-of in my sideboard, solely because it didn't see much play for me. But when I did drop it, it was either game or my opponent wasn't able to win the next turn. So very strong card. Definitely a sideboard staple for most decks. We'll go over matchups real quick. Unless your opponent is playing Tricolor Piccolo or Tricolor Surge Q, you should not be losing to them. It's as simple as that. You be aggressive with the Gohans. The sacrifices always came in. You be aggressive with the sacrifices. You be aggressive with your hand control. If they're anything tier 2 or lower, or U7, Broly Surge, Jiren, you should be winning all of those matchups. It's free. Tricolor is the biggest issue because they run Frost Deadly Poison, they run Champa, they can run Crusher Ball. They run the Apes so they can refill their hands. And then Surge Coup, all of your boss monsters, all of them, they just get negated. So it's very difficult to win that matchup. But since I will be moving Sacrifice to the main board, I do think that will definitely help in the Tricolor Piccolo matchup. It might help in Surge Coup. I haven't tested much against it. I managed to dodge it all weekend. But yeah, so the Sacrifice is main board. If you win the dice roll against Piccolo and you have Sacrifice main board, you should not be losing that matchup at all. But yeah, that's the deck profile.
Alright, any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, to my local boys, Nathan Hill, Slane Harris, Jake Gibson. They're Magic players. I haven't topped in a year. They've helped me out a lot. They help with deck choices. They're all very smart. We do bicker a lot, and we do get mad at each other. But I wouldn't have been able to do this without them. Shout out to Stage 0.
Yes, sir.
Literally, I've been on 3 teams since I started playing DBS, and this is by far the best team I've ever been on. The team chemistry is awesome. We have strong players. We have smart players, and the chemistry is good. Like, we work together, we work on each other's decks. So I wouldn't have been able to do it without you guys. Shout out to the UK people that put me on the deck. Zeechun of My Wife Hates Games. He has a YouTube channel, My Wife Hates Games. He put me on the deck. I'm very happy he did because I performed well with it, and it is like the perfect deck for me. Shout out to Michael Silk, who helped me test early on. Shout out to Joe Dunthorne, Ahmad Kashi, Jet Yao, James Muir, all my Newcastle boys for hyping me up throughout the weekend. All of the European people who have just been trying to hype me up over the weekend. It's severely appreciated, and I will come and kick your guys' ass in Salford. Simple as that.
Go ahead. You're going to take that W next time.
Fuck yeah.
All right, man.
All right. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
See you in the next time.